All right, we are live. Welcome back to another edition of our Members Spotlight. Today, we are joined by Connor. Connor, say your last name for everybody.
Leppink.
Leppink. There we
Yeah,
go.
there you
Thank
go.
you. I should have asked you that before we started recording, but that's all
You're
right.
good.
Connor, appreciate you being on here with us today.
Yeah, thanks for having me.
Yeah, before we jump into it, tell us where are you zooming from today?
I am in my parents' basement in Holland, Michigan. Grown up here my whole life. Lived in this house for about 24 years. So
Born and raised.
born and raised, yes, sir.
I like it. So we were just talking off air for a little bit, and you were most recently the Dobo at Miami of Ohio.
Yep.
And they cut the position due to COVID.
Yeah, they did. I was informed, I think, May 1st that they were going to eliminate my position. So that was unfortunate. But in times like these, you kind of respect it and kind of move on. So it's been tough, but still got a lot of love for Miami, a lot of good people there. So still very appreciative of them.
It's just crazy to see all the levels that are being affected. I mean, you see some of the small colleges have to cut programs or positions or even shut their doors.
Mm-hmm.
But when you see, Miami of Ohio is it's not really like the bottom of D1 either. It's a pretty like legit mid-major program.
Yeah.
And when you see them starting to have to cut positions, especially ones like, again, if it's like the third assist, not third assistant coach, but if it's like special assistant to the head coach or like assistant video coordinator, that's one thing. But director of ops is pretty vital position.
Yeah. So it is what it is, like I said.
Yeah.
But just fortunate that I got to work at Miami for 2 years and meet a lot of great people and relationships that will last a lifetime. So nothing but love still. So
for sure. Well, you got a great attitude about it. So, all right, Connor, tell us a little bit about your background. Obviously, you grew up there in Michigan. But how did you kind of get introduced to the game and transition into coaching?
Yeah, so it's kind of a weird story. Played basketball and baseball in high school. Wasn't very athletic, obviously, with basketball. Was better at baseball. And then I took a scholarship.
What position, Connor?
What
position on baseball?
I played left field and second base.
Okay. Were you a slugger? What was your?
I was just a hit for average type guy. I don't got the muscle to put them deep. So hitting around, batted second in the lineup type thing. So
nice.
Yeah. So like I said, took a scholarship to an NAIA school out in Iowa to play baseball. And then after that, I wanted to get my master's degree, and I wanted to go to Michigan because Michigan runs in my family blood. My grandpa went there. My brother went there. So wanted to get my master's degree from there. And actually, I wanted to be a manager for the baseball team. Couldn't do that. They actually had all their manager positions full. Then I wanted to go to basketball since my second love was basketball. And I tried to get on with Coach Beeline, but Lord knows that's easier said than done. And then I went over to women's basketball, and thankfully their staff took me as a manager. And that's where I began to fall in love with the game of basketball, and specifically women's basketball. And then from there, I got a video internship with the Seattle Storm. I worked under Aaron McKinney, who's now with the Memphis Grizzlies, as a video person. And then I took a video spot at Miami, Ohio University, under Coach Duffy, who I met at Michigan when she was an assistant there under Coach KBA, Kim Barnes-Rico. And then when Coach Duffy went to Marquette, the new staff came in and I was promoted to Dobo. So kind of a weird story of how I got into it, but I've enjoyed it so far for sure.
Okay. I got a lot of questions for you, Connor.
For sure.
So when you went to Michigan working on your master's, did you know you wanted to coach? Like you said, you tried to become a manager on the baseball side first. Did you know you wanted to coach and you thought maybe you'd do it on baseball, or you just wanted to be around the game, or what was The reason for wanting to manage?
I just wanted to be around the game. Obviously, I didn't care if it was baseball or basketball, because I love both those sports. I actually wanted to do some type of ops role. I've always had a passion for that operations, even coming out of my undergraduate college. I've always wanted to just kind of be in that ops role, and not really coach. Maybe someday, if the right situation, but just definitely have that passion for the operations, video type stuff. So
That's a huge advantage. A lot of coaches kind of want that from their support staff. Somebody, everyone's different what they look for, but some people want someone who's not going to be worrying about the next job and trying to be on the court. They want someone who loves video and operations and the admin side, which I really enjoyed it. I mean, I was an ops guy, and I wanted to coach, but while I was there, like, I really did enjoy, that role. You kind of have your hands in everything.
Yeah, no, for sure. Obviously, I told you this before we got on live, but I would love to do what Jimmie, your next member spotlight, is doing right now. Would kind of be like a video coordinator, ops person in the NBA or WNBA for sure. I could see myself being like an Eric Glass who spent like 12 years in the video room for the Heat, and just something like that. I know it sounds crazy. People are like, "Are you serious?" But I really enjoy that stuff. So.
Yeah, no, it doesn't sound crazy at all, especially if it's what you love.
Mm-hmm.
Anytime you get paid to do something you love, it's not crazy.
Exactly.
All right, before we move on, I got to ask one more question about baseball.
Mm-hmm.
Now, I've always thought this, like, baseball coaches, like the manager, wears a uniform.
Mm-hmm.
Why don't we see that in any other sport?
That's a good question. I don't really have an answer for that. I actually kind of like how the NBA is kind of transitioned to more casual.
For sure.
I kind of like that more. I know Oregon women's basketball has that, and you kind of see that kind of coming up through college basketball. But that's a good question. I don't know why. Maybe someday.
There's no reason for the suit. I definitely like the casual look.
Yeah, no, it looks a lot sharper.
But how would you feel if Mike D'Antoni had a jersey on?
Dude, I don't know. You'd have to ask him that, but
yeah,
I'm sure he probably wouldn't be the biggest fan. But no.
All right. So tell me, like, your first. All right. So you obviously work Michigan women's basketball, and you said that's kind of where you fell in love with the game and with women's basketball specifically. What was it about the women's game that kind of drew you to it?
I think there's so much, like, I don't want to say like they're so underrated, but it's just like more like pure basketball. Not to say men's basketball is like they don't play it the right way, and you don't really rely on athleticism. I mean, women are athletic, but you don't see the dunks, and it's just more, I guess, the pureness of basketball. I don't know what it is, but I just truly like it.
Yeah, it seems to be like a little bit more fundamentally sound because they're not playing above the rim, like you said.
Yeah,
they're having to create space.
Mm-hmm. Not to throw like men's basketball under the bus at all, but just more pure fundamental basketball.
For sure. And then obviously you did a great job there at Michigan, because when the assistant coach got the job at Miami of Ohio, they brought you with them. So what was that kind of transition like, going from, manager to video coordinator? Now you're, someone that's being counted on every day. You're in the staff meetings. Kind of what was that like? Yeah.
So I was fortunate as a manager to kind of be in a video assistant to Emma Golan, who was the former video coordinator there. She's now at Yale as an assistant coach. Just learning from her, and then learning from Aaron McKinney when I was with the Seattle Storm. I owe them to a lot because they kind of taught me a lot in terms of sports code and synergy and just play and fast draw and all that kind of stuff. So the transition was pretty easy as far as video goes. I mean, the toughest part for me was the Photoshop. That was probably the biggest one. But I kind of knew what to expect from Coach Duffy. Always had love for her. She's a winner, obviously. The 2 years she had at Miami were phenomenal, and then she goes to Marquette, and first year Big East Coach of the Year when they were predicted 9th. So I kind of knew what to expect from Coach Duffy, and so I don't know. It just made it easier knowing Coach Duffy and all the support I had and the learning ability from Emma and Aaron in the past too.
What do you think separates Coach Duffy? Why has she been so successful everywhere she's been?
I know people just use this as like a broad term, but she's just a winner. And probably the smartest X's and O's coaches I've been around. Not to say the others that I've been around aren't, but she just knows the game of basketball so well, so prepared, so detailed, so focused, and she pushes everyone to be the best. Honestly, I know that sounds cliche, but she strives for everyone to be successful on her staff. But yeah, like I said, she's a winner, and her track record just kind of proves it with what she's done at Miami and Marquette. It's kind of too bad that we couldn't see her in the NCAA tournament because
Right.
So, but no, nothing but love for Coach Duffy and the whole staff. So.
Okay, talk about your internship with the Storm. Sounds like an unbelievable opportunity. How was that one of those? Like, how long was that internship for?
Yeah, so it was actually for the whole WNBA season. I got there at the beginning or the second day of training camp, and then I was there till when we got eliminated in the playoffs. Jenny Busek was the head coach. She's now with the Dallas Mavericks, if that rings a bell or not. But Gary Kloppenberg, who's the interim head coach right now for the Seattle Storm, was there. And yeah, just nothing but love once again for them and what they taught me and the opportunity they gave me, for sure. So
was it just another level dealing with professionals? I know, like, one of the common things you hear with people who go from coaching college to the pro ranks is the basketball IQ is just off the charts. Is that a similar experience to what you felt?
Exactly. Definitely the lingo can be a little bit different, which is kind of a little bit tough to get used to at first. But yeah, I mean, when you got Sue Bird and Brianna Stewart and Jewel Lloyd, you kind of learned a lot. And definitely the IQ, especially with one of the best of all time in Sue Bird, it was just kind of fun to sit back and watch her do her thing. So
yeah, anything you can share about Sue Bird in terms of, I don't know, work ethic or leadership or how she goes about what she does?
Yeah, she's just her typical professional. I mean, she was the first one in there. And obviously the players all listened to her when she had something to say. But she was just tremendous, best leader I've ever seen in terms of the basketball, and just being a great teammate. But definitely she has the IQ that she could definitely be a head coach someday. But yeah, she leads by example too. I mean, she was always the first one in the gym getting shots up. And then she was always in the training room taking care of her body. So that typical pro's pro, I guess you want to say.
I know you're in a big time setup at Michigan, but like when you go into the arena there in Seattle, was there like a moment where you're like, wow, like I'm around some legends and, you know, I'm here?
Yeah, no, it was actually kind of crazy because the year I was there, they hosted the WNBA All-Star game in Seattle. So I got to meet like Isaiah Thomas, Kyrie Irving in the locker room, and then I was kind of charged with more the West team personnel. So got to meet like Diana Taurasi and be in the shoot around type like that. So it was actually pretty cool and something I'll never forget for sure. Just kind of being around those athletes that you've watched your whole life and kind of starstruck, to be honest.
So have you been glued to the Wubble?
The Wubble and the bubble for sure.
Yeah.
Yes. So definitely pulling for Seattle, but all good teams in the WNBA for sure, and it's fun.
Okay, so you had Coach Duffy leaves to go to Marquette. You guys have the staff change there in Miami, and it actually works out well for you. You get bumped up from video to ops.
Yep.
How did you kind of manage that transition? that can be tricky. You know, a lot of times a new staff comes in, cleans house. How did you kind of handle that new coaching change?
Yeah, so it kind of a lot of unknown at first. But when Coach Henrik's there, she wanted to meet with me, and I think we met at Starbucks or something like that. And she just asked what my goals were, and I told her I wanted to be a Dobo or same type of video role. And I was fortunate enough for her to promote me to Dobo. And then the transition was kind of easy for me because I was fortunate to have another great mentor in Veronica Mullen, who's now the Dobo at Marquette, and she was the Dobo at Miami before. So I kind of learned how she went about things and how things go about in terms of the processes of travel and everything at Miami. So she kind of took me under her wing and kind of showed me the ropes. So it made it that much easier for me to transition to Dobo. Just learning from her, and then obviously learning from Amy Mulligan at the director of basketball operations at Michigan, and how she did things. So,
yeah, you've certainly been around some great people and some great staffs and coaches. And then we touched on it earlier, but obviously due to coronavirus, the position was cut.
Yeah.
So what has kind of been, you know, how have you been filling up your days here in the last few months, and what's kind of been the plan of attack? I know it's a slow off season. There's probably not much out there.
Yeah. So obviously just looking for jobs here and there every day. But like you said, so many unknowns going on with athletic budgets and stuff. But just catching up with friends, hanging out with some old high school friends and teammates. Been trying to work on my golf game. I love to do it. Can't say I'm very good. And also reading books and listening to a couple podcasts, especially JJ Redick's podcast and Woj's podcast. Those are probably my two top right now.
Nice. Any books that really struck you this year?
Yeah, so I actually kind of stole it from Luke Yaklich. I kind of followed him on Twitter, and I think he presented like his top 5 books, and 2 of them were Why the Best Are the Best from Kevin Eastman. And then High Performance Habits, I think by Brendan Bouchard, I think it is. Those have been 2 phenomenal books. And then I just got finished reading, this is probably long overdue, but I just got finished reading Shoe Dog by Phil Knight. So,
I've never actually read it. I've like thought about picking it up several times. Is it good?
Yeah, it's very good. Very good. I should have started it a while ago. But my grandma was actually the one who reminded me about it, because she would listen to it on like a CD or something on the way when they were traveling to Colorado or something. So she kind of reminded me of that book. So, is
it like dated, or is it still, because like so much has happened since he wrote that book, or is it?
No, I still think it's a very good book to read, and I would definitely highly recommend it. It's very, very interesting.
Yeah, I imagine it's like a quick read too, right?
Oh yeah, like probably finished it in like 2 days, to be honest, because I was pretty glued into it.
Yeah, I'm gonna have to check that one out. I'm glad you brought it up. Mm-hmm. It's been on my list that I keep putting off for a long time. So
yeah, mm-hmm.
Awesome. Well, Connor, thanks so much for being on here on the Member Spotlight. We wish you the best of luck. If anybody out there is looking for an ops guy, a video coordinator, assistant coach, whatever, hit up Connor. He's out there on the market looking. So
now one last thing I just want to say, I appreciate everything you've done, Adam, and everybody on your staff and your whole team, what you've done for rising coaches, especially during this time. So I really appreciate everything you guys have done. So thanks again for having me. I really appreciate it.
Yeah, thank you. Thank you, Connor. We appreciate you. All right, we're going to bring in Jimmie Oakman, the legend, here in a second. Give me 1 second. Connor, thanks again, and we'll see you soon, okay?
Awesome. Appreciate it.
All right, Jimmie. What's up, man? Give me 1 second. I got to figure out the background. I got to get your name up here. We got to make this big time. Hold on. What are we doing? What am I? First of all, you're muted, Jimmie. There we go. Jimmie, what's up?
What's going on? No rush.
We're going to talk while I try to, we can't just be here in silence
while
I try to figure out how to do this. So this is StreamYard. This is not Zoom. Boom. I got it. There we go. Let's go. Jimmie Oakman, the legend, the rising coaches MVP for the last 6 months. How are you, man?
I'm great. I've tried to take advantage of this time and really just focus on what I've been missing out on during the season and get caught up on film and all sorts of projects I've been trying to create for myself. So try to be productive as possible.
Jimmie, you're everywhere. You're on Zoom more than everybody else in the membership combined, I think.
I never thought it would be that way, but I get so bored. I feel like I have like basketball ADD where I'm just trying to bounce around. So, I tell people we should just have an open room and I'll just be in there trying to talk hoops with anybody. It doesn't matter to me.
I love it. So before we get into like your background, Jimmie, obviously you're at the Long Island Nets, and the G League got canceled for this season and a little unknown for what's next. What's your situation? Are you just kind of on hold?
Yeah, exactly. I think you hit it on the head. I think that's pretty much like circumstance across the league. And, no one knows when the G League season is going to begin. The NBA season is getting pushed back. So I think we're all just kind of waiting. And, I think the most prepared people right now is staying busy and trying to get ahead will be able to hit the ground running a little bit. Still try to talk to the players as much as I can through text and Instagram and stuff like that. So,
yeah, and that's why you're sitting there bored out of your mind, trying to find things to keep you occupied.
I was trying to do some cardio yesterday. I went to the court to do suicides. I'm thinking like I'm really missing out. So it's been a wild time.
I used to do that. How old are you, Jimmie?
32.
Okay. I used to do that. Like I'd go to the gym, I'd get my workout on the court, I'd do some suicides.
Oh,
I'm 36 now. I bet it was like 5 years ago that I was like, screw this. Like,
we're going to stop for me.
What am I doing? Good for you though. Keep it up as long as you can. After a while, you just get to the point. I think it was probably when I got married and, like you have kids, you're like, I don't have time for this.
That's going to be the case. I can imagine that coming soon. So,
do you still hoop, Jimmie? Do you still play?
We play so much during the season against the guys and I act as a scout team and just trying to be out there as much as I can. Like I love to hoop even with like our equipment guys and stuff like that and like our team attendance before the game. I love getting up shots. So love to just be around the game. I wasn't a great player by any means, but to be on the court is something I love to do.
What's the scouting report? I'm going to take a guess before you answer that. I'm going to say you're borderline dirty player. You're a very physical screener. And I'm sure you can knock down an open jumper and drop some dimes like most coaches.
I was much like Connor. I was much more of a baseball player. Now, like playing with our staff, I'm by far the worst player. They all played at high levels. So for me now, I just sit in the corner. I back cut every time the guys get pissed off and like scout team and stuff like that. I'm just trying to keep them aware. But I know if I'm open, the ball's going up. That I can promise you that whether it's going in or not, it's going up. So
I love it. You're not shy. Let it fly.
No, I use my fouls too. I'll say that. Maybe not dirty, but I'll use the fouls.
All right, good. All right, Jimmie, take us back. Give us a little bit about your background, where you grew up, and how you really kind of got into hoops.
Yeah, so I'm from outside Boston, a city called Everett. Big time powerhouse football program for anyone that ever knew anything about high school football. But I was a baseball player, as I said. I wanted to go to UMass since the time I was young. And I grew up during the Marcus Camby era, and those guys had it rolling. They had a great sport management program, wanted to go there. When I got there, I didn't really know anything about being a manager or anything like that. And, winter break comes rolling around. I started coaching 7th and 8th grade boys basketball in my hometown for, we had like 6 weeks off. And so that's how I got involved coaching pretty early. It wasn't until my sophomore year where I became a manager at UMass. And that kind of led me into my first coaching job. I became a high school assistant in Amherst, Massachusetts. Spent 2 years there, my senior year and the year after I graduated. And, those guys, like I loved it. Like I took it so personally. I couldn't sleep at night if we lost. And I just fall in love with it really, really fast. And went to Division III ranks for a few years, went to Division I, and now I'm in the pro ranks for a few years. But that was kind of how I got started.
So did you manage all, like you started your sophomore year, did you manage sophomore, junior, senior year, or you just did it and then you got that high school job or the middle school job and that was it?
So it was literally definitely like all throughout my sophomore and like my junior year. My last year, like I would just go to the games and kind of just be a spectator. Like I would still be like in the locker room and stuff like that and kind of hanging out. But like, you know, the responsibilities, we practice at the same time the teams playing the game. So I'd have to rush back and forth if I was trying to make it work. So the priority was to coach the high school team and be kind of hands-on with them every step of the way.
Who was the coach at UMass when you were there?
So Derek Kellogg took over. Travis Ford was in my freshman year, and Derek Kellogg took over first-time head coach my sophomore year.
Great hair.
It seems to be a thing from like the UMass coaches.
Right. Yeah, all of them. They got the great slick back hair. And
Massachusetts thing, I guess.
That's why you had to go start coaching the high school team, because you couldn't live up to the hair of the UMass coaching tree. So you're coaching the high school team. You're loving it. I imagine, like most people that age, like you probably don't know what you're doing, but you're just enjoying it and learning on the fly, right?
Yeah, exactly right. Like, and you know, I didn't know anything of them. I'm just thinking naively and thinking you just do a good job, you're going to get another job. But you know, that's not how it works in this business. It's so much more relationship based. And that's when I kind of, you know, it wasn't until I left my second year of coaching high school when you guys launched Rising Coaches and the events and stuff like that in Vegas out then. And that's where I really tried to figure out my network and try to go from there.
Yeah. Give us kind of like the timeline of how that all went down. So you coached high school ball.
Yeah.
And then you went from that to what? BU?
I went to Division III after high school.
Division III. Okay. What school was that?
That was Daniel Webster College.
Okay.
And that closed down now, actually, I think 2 years ago, financially, it was shut down. But the head coach that was there, Dave Fosher, was probably the best offensive mind I've ever been around. And I've talked with some great people, but he coached at Dartmouth for 20 years, you know, ran a pretty modern offense at the time. It was like an up-tempo Princeton system that I learned so much from him. And those 3 years I spent under him, you know, that's really the backbone of my development in the coaching world. Yeah,
it's always great when you fall into those mentors that really are good at an early age. It's a great foundation. I'm sure do you find yourself drawing from like his terminology and like his concepts still?
It's literally like our terminology was so different than everybody else. I think of it internally and then I try to like verbalize to other people because they would never understand what I'm saying. But that's how you know, it's the first language that you learn, like, you know, how you think the game.
For sure. I love it. So you're at the Division III school for how many years?
I was 3
years.
Yeah.
Okay. And that's when you came to Rising Coaches, right? Like you came your third year?
It came after my first year. I think it was in between my high school and going to college. I had no job at the time. It was that in between period where I left high school and in between Division III job. That was the first time I came.
Yeah. And I remember you showing up. Was it the very first conference or the second conference?
It was the second one.
The second one, right? Yeah. So I remember you being there. And I just remember you being like super eager to learn and like meet people. And you were kind of the same as you are now. You were all over the place.
Yeah. Not much has changed, I promise.
You were in every corner of that room, which was great. That conference was amazing.
Yes.
I'm trying to think back to who spoke at our second one. Do you remember anyone stick out to you? I mean, you've been to like
I've been to like 10 of them, I believe. So, you know, I think they all kind of blend together. I just remember going in there first and seeing everyone with different polos on. And I was like, man, I got a blank polo. This is kind of neat, you know? So
right.
I was like, what are people thinking about me?
Well, we talk about that now a lot. We try to make sure we spread that message. Like, quit looking at logos. Stop judging people by where they're at, because they're not going to be there long. No. You're not going to be where you're at long. And you treat everyone with respect, because the people you see on the way up are going to be the same people you see on the way down. So
definitely inevitable.
Hopefully you weren't getting dirty looks because of your blank polo.
Hey, they probably don't have the same polo on anymore either. So it's all
no doubt. Okay. So then after your 3 years at Division III, then Boston U, right?
Yep.
Okay. And that was what? Ops, video?
So I started as video and like special assistant type title, whatever you want to call it. But I worked, there for 4 years total, and ops 3 over there.
And you were determined, like the pro game was always interesting to you, right? Like you.
Yeah, it was definitely, I loved the college game as far as on the court and stuff like that. And like I was the type, I could watch any Division III game in the country and just enjoy watching basketball. And it got to the point where I just didn't like the landscape of where things were going, and it was never the goal to get to the NBA. It just kind of worked out. And, I'm glad it did.
Can you talk a little bit about your decision to leave Boston University and pursue the pro game?
Sure. So after my 4 years at BU, the NBA felt like it kept pulling at me. Like, I just want to make this thing work. And I'm 2 feet in kind of guy. And I felt like, if I'm not all into BU, it's going to do a disservice to, everybody there. And I came up with the decision just to quit. And, I'm from Boston, grew up there, making a good living. And it wasn't an easy decision by any means to just, kind of up and leave and then bet on yourself, go to the NBA, and went to summer league, try to bridge connections. Nothing really, like, I wasn't expecting to get a job. I didn't want it to be like that. I wasn't begging for a job. I just talked to people, close to me. And, one thing led to another, and it kind of worked out that way.
By the way, you get your whole fan base here dropping comments. I love it. Everybody from the Rising Coaches community is out supporting you because you've been so giving of your time and your experience. So it's cool to see everybody on here. Sorry, I'm just laughing at some of this stuff. So, okay. And I know we've talked about this before, and I don't know how much you want to go into it or whatever, but one of the things that so many in the college game get frustrated with is, like, you spend all these years in the support staff roles trying to work your way up to coach, but you always get hit with, well, you got no recruiting experience, so, like, we can't hire you. And it's like when you got to get a driver's license and they're like, you got to show some ID.
Right.
You're like, I can't show ID because that's why I'm here. I need ID.
Right.
It's like the same thing. Like, how can you get recruiting experience if you're not going to give me a chance? Like, was that a big factor in, like, what drew you to the pro game?
Yeah, it did. And, talking with Brandon as well before, and his experience when he went to the NBA, and talking with a lot of other people that kind of made the jump. And, the thing that stood out to me was, hey, if you put NBA on your resume, it's going to mean something at the end of the day. So whether you want to go back to college or not, it's only going to be a positive. So when I looked at it from that lens, I felt like, all right, I make this jump, it works out. If I want to go back to college, I'm going to be viewed much more highly for just that experience alone. But it's such a negative where, catch-22, where, like, all right, I'm doing a great job at a great program, and, hard to move up that ladder. Like, that next leap isn't just like, 12 inches over. It seems like it's a mile away. And, now it's funny, like, a lot of coaches, talk to me and ask me for advice in the college world. And, like, 18 months ago, no one wanted to talk to me. So.
Can you talk a little bit about all the, like, people always ask, like, what can I do to separate myself from the pack? Obviously, like, the coaching industry is competitive. There's a lot more people than there are jobs. And so people are always, like, wanting to know how they can stand out. You did a great job of that. And I don't think you did it for this purpose. But you always were doing, like, special projects. You were always researching something. Can you talk about that, like, how you kind of spent your off seasons? And this is going all the way back to, like, your BU days.
Yeah. And that's what I think it comes down to now. Like, I know, like, Jake and Ashton do a great job with Grow the Game, and trying to convey that message to them. Like, hey, there's managers at every place trying to move on. You're always going to be a manager. So what are you going to do to separate yourself? And I kind of thought that way early on. And, you obviously know too, like, in this business, you don't make a lot of money, especially when you're starting out. And coaching Division III at the time, I decided to write some books and sell some playbooks and stuff like that just to subsidize my income at the time. So it was much more of me trying to learn at the same time where, hey, people are going to get value from this and people really appreciate it. And I realized I could charge for it. But that wasn't the plan, just to make money off of it. It was really to grow my own knowledge and then share what I was kind of coming across. So I think you're always going to be forward thinking. And, as long as you're doing it genuinely, I see a lot of people on Twitter post stuff and it's great. Like, content's huge and it's going to help you understand the game at a better level. And I think, you can never watch too much film. So I think that's where a lot of managers coming up just try to do their job, and that's great. But if you're not growing your knowledge base of the game, the game's going to pass you.
Okay, so what was the first book was on the triangle offense, right?
So I did a few like playbooks. I did Butler and VCU playbooks, Florida Gators playbooks. This is when like Shaka was there, and
So were you just going on Synergy, watching all the film, and then writing it up on Lucio?
Yeah. So, exactly right. Like I went through every single clip, every single play, every single thing that they did, and kind of organized it just to learn like, hey, these guys are doing it different ways, but they're successful in their own right. Let's try to put this together before anybody was really doing anything like that. So,
and then where were you like selling it?
Just online, just on different sites, and getting 50% of the commission just because other people hosting it and stuff like that, and just trying to make ends meet, but really trying to do it to create dialogue. Like I always try to put my email in my stuff that I publish just so that hopefully someone would email me and we could talk hoops. Like, I'm big into talking with people just randomly about different stuff, X and O's wise. And I'm always I tell people like, hey, I'll give you my number. Let's talk hoops. So
can we still buy some of those books? Like, where can we find it? Let's plug some of the.
No. So the only two that I have out right now are on the Pack Line and the Triangle, and those are on Amazon and Barnes and Noble too. So that's just where those sit right now. I don't do any marketing or anything like that.
Go buy it. I'm sure it's the most expensive studies on Triangle and Pack Line out there.
Yeah.
Skip the Dick Bennett video and go straight to the Leppink book. And then, okay, so you did the playbooks, and then I remember you also did some studies, right?
Yeah, so I tried to, analytics obviously was really, really big, and it is now obviously, but like, the wave was like 5 to 7 years ago, and just trying to be ahead of it. Like I was always big into numbers as a kid, and math came easy to me. So how can you tie in what you're seeing with basketball and dive a little bit deeper into things, and studying different things that made sense to me, like just closeouts and seeing how like different hands influence the shot and on the floor and stuff like that. So
you're a big left-hand closeout guy for a right-hand, right?
I mean, it just makes a lot of sense, and the numbers back it up. And I'll be, a lot of teams force left defense, and there's a lot of merit to it. And just try to see what works, and then dive a little bit deeper and keep asking yourself questions, and eventually you get to the answer you want to get to.
So I'm a big fan of that as well. So if you contest with your left hand against a right-handed shooter, their contest is going to be right there against the ball, rather than like reaching across their face trying to get there.
Sounds so simple.
So simple. So if you get the head coaching job of not even the Long Island Nets, let's say you get the Brooklyn Nets job tomorrow, are you teaching that left hand closeouts or no?
I think the short answer, no, but yes, in certain circumstances where like you have to fly at them, you can only jump to contest. It's going to be to that strong hand, like, so you're not going to foul them jumping into the shot. But regular defense, I think at this level it's going to be a little bit different. But high school and college for sure.
You would do it in high school and college?
Yeah, definitely.
Yeah, gotcha. Okay, and then I imagine, like, along with those studies, obviously you're learning, but like you said, it's a great icebreaker for somebody, and somebody may see something and reach out to you and you start a conversation. That's how these relationships start, right?
Exactly. And, I love, when, young men or women talk to me that are managers or GAs coming up through the business, and they have something to bring to the table that, I see that they've thought about this pretty deeply. And it makes me believe like, hey, like if they're already thinking about this stuff this way now, who knows what it's going to lead to down the road.
Yeah, you're the best. Sorry, I'm starving. I just
go.
Very unprofessional of me. You are the best at that. Like, you're great at building relationships. You've done it all. you know, 6 months here during this pandemic on Rising Coaches, but you're building your relationships through your love of the game.
Yeah.
Which seems to make, I would imagine, your relationships stick a little bit more than somebody who is just shooting the shit, like Scott Savor says, just talking about the weather. You know, like you're actually talking, like it's clear you love hoops. Like you said, you'll talk to anybody about it. And you love getting into like deep dives on different X's and O's and things like that.
Yes. I think Jay Billis said it last night. Like anyone you ever meet knows something that you don't know. And you know, that's always kind of registered with me. And no matter who I'm talking to, whether, you know, you could be an 18-year-old manager at, you know, a D3 school, you could be working for a coach that has this unbelievable teaching point on a shell defense. Like that's valuable. Like bring that to the table. And you got to know what's valuable. Like, you know, every coach at every level is a human being. So you should be able to associate and talk to them. And if they don't have time for you, you know, you don't want to be around that person anyways at the end of the day. And, you know, I try to disassociate from those people and just try to talk to people openly and candidly about what's real in this business and just try to be a good person at the end of the day.
Yeah, and you've always had that confidence about you, kind of back to what we were talking about earlier, even when you had the blank white polo on and didn't have a job. You've always had that confidence to be able to go up and talk to people. How did you, you know, of course, people do judge you by your logo. That is a real thing, unfortunately, in our industry. How did you handle like people big timing you and things like that? I'm sure, I know you've got a good attitude about it now, but I'm sure in the moment, you know, it can be frustrating and hard to deal with, right?
Yeah, I learned it pretty quickly when I was in that kind of stretch from coaching high school to Division III. I was offered 2 different jobs. Both really would have launched my career really quickly. And I'm glad it didn't work out that way because I'm really grateful for what I've gone through. But they both passed me up. And they offered me the job, then basically rescinded the job because it went to somebody else for, you know, whatever reason it might have been. But, you know, it just makes you look back on like, don't ever be that guy. And, you know, I want to be a head coach one day. And if I ever am, I want to move people through the seats, you know, like, you know, video to whatever, 4th assistant, 3rd assistant, move all the way up and keep moving people through. And I think that's the right way to do it. And so, you know, never want to big time anybody, never want to be big timed either. And just try to do it, you know, right by your people.
Yeah. Now you got the Brooklyn Nets logo and everybody wants to talk to you. And you're the best. You're the best with that. You have time for everybody, which is why you see everybody on here commenting in the chat and everybody here supporting you and showing you love, because you treat everybody the same and you embody everything that our organization tries to be about, which is just that. So
I appreciate it like that. Honestly, if I could, you know, on my gravestone, like just being a good person and doing it the right way means more than, you know, being a great coach. So
for sure. Well said. What's like, I know you do pick people's brains a lot. What's the best advice that you've gotten in this industry?
Oh man.
Or in life. It doesn't have to be in coaching.
Yeah. The best, like know when to talk and know when not to speak, like know when to shut up. And then there's times where you should know not when to talk. Just be there to listen. I think for me, especially coming into like a great organization, I think I didn't say any words in any of the meetings I was there, just soaking things in, read the room, get a feel for things. And, you know, if you have something to add, do it privately at first and just try to develop a relationship that way. Like you never want to be the person that walks into a room and just tries to, you know, spout off information. If you're not reading the room, you don't know how things generally work. So that's something I've learned. And different people are different for sure. But I never want to come off as a know-it-all. I want to read the situation, you know, have a one-on-one conversation, and then maybe bring it to the forefront to everybody and to generate conversation.
Yeah, that's great. And in terms of like your career aspirations, Jimmie, I don't know if it's still this way or what, but you have interest in kind of both the coach / GM title.
I do.
Is that still like, how do you pursue both things at once? That tends to be something like, you know, you're a Stan Van Gundy or something, like you're a legendary coach and they give you the reins, you know, to the front office as well. But you seem to be attacked, which I love. You're attacking it from like, yes, you're a legend, but not at that national stage yet.
No,
So how do you go about pursuing both things and studying both and meeting people on both sides of it?
Great question, because it hasn't been done, especially at the G League level. Like it hasn't been. I think that's where I have to start doing stuff that way first. I got to be a head coach first before I ever want to think about the other part. But I try to be heavily involved in player evaluation. I really love that part of the game. That's what I loved about college is you can evaluate a player, see how they fit, and then put them through workouts, get them better, and take them through the whole process. In the NBA, it's kind of like we like this guy, like, not saying this everywhere, but you throw a guy into your team and, coach is going to make it fit. But being able to evaluate somebody for your system, bring them along, get them better at what you need them to get better at, seems really rewarding to me. And I think that I can really help in that. And I definitely help with scouting some players in the G League, current college players, and just trying to grow that part of my game as much as possible too.
Nothing would make me happier to see you be the first ever G League head coach / GM combo.
Amen. Me too.
Let's get it done.
Yeah.
So for any front office people, any owners out there, I guess we need an owner to get on board, right? Let's get it done. All right, I'm gonna flash this comment across the screen and let you. I'm not even gonna say a word. I'm just gonna let you read it and answer.
Honestly, it's the retreats, and the first one that we did was Orlando, and just kind of having that, I think, really showed years of relationship building, and I think that's what this is about. And just to have a relaxed atmosphere where we're talking hoops, talking family, and getting to know each other on a more personal, intimate level. I think that's what I've always wanted in this business, and things like that, really resonate. That's why in the group text, I'm always talking about the retreats, and I think that stuff goes a long way.
Yeah, I would have thought you would have said the Waffle House. Was that with Danny Mills till like 5 a.m?
I owe that guy a lot in this business, so I appreciate him.
Absolutely. Here's Brandon again. Maybe go the GM route so you can hire yourself. Smart.
See, this is why I surround myself with smarter people than me, man. You guys got to figure it out better than I do.
There you go. Jimmie, what's been the biggest takeaway from the last 6 months during this pandemic? We've touched on it before, but you've been very, very involved with all the Zooms. You've hosted some unbelievable master classes and put out some great content. You've interacted with a ton of people. What's been the biggest, takeaway or lesson or from that whole period?
I think, as coaches, we got to network with people all over the world. And that's something I've really enjoyed. People think the game differently, both from the United States to Canada to Europe to Asia. And, we got to do our due diligence as far as helping promote people with different ways of thinking, diversity of thought, diversity of color, and just doing our own part and, growing the game organically and trying to bridge relationships. Just because you're on the men's side in college doesn't mean you can't network with, a D2 women's assistant. And I've tried to do that more than I ever have before. The time kind of allows it that way, but getting perspective from different people at different levels has been something I've tried to do. And I've learned a lot.
Yeah, great stuff. All right, last thing, Jimmie, give us, your advice for anybody in the industry, whether they're just getting started or they've been in it for 20 years. What is the key to longevity in coaching?
Shoot, that's $1 million question. I always think my answer with anything basketball related is watch more film. And I believe that, you're watching something you can't tell a player is, it could be player evaluation. You don't know how good he is going to his right hand. Well, keep watching more film. You can't figure out this team's tendencies. Watch more film. Your team's stuck and you're looking for a new system to implement. Watch more film. And so I really try to watch the game as much as possible. I love watching film, breaking stuff down. And, for younger men and women coming up in the business right now, you need to be watching as much as you can because, you can be great with people and they always say that's a skill. But every high-level coach is a mastermind when it comes to X's and O's. The X's and O's are never going to be disappear, and your character and your personality is who that it's already kind of built in. But you can always grow your X's and O's database, and knowledge of the game is going to get you far in this business.
Great stuff, Jimmie. One more comment here from Brian Burton. Absolutely. You're a beast and ambassador of the game.
Oh,
very true. Jimmie, we appreciate you, man, so much. Rising coaches. You are rising coaches. You are no way we grow and develop through the years into what we are today without you, your leadership, your willingness to give back, connect on a genuine level, and just never stop learning. I think that's super evident just from what you said. Obviously, you're always looking to learn and find out new things. So we appreciate you, Jimmie, so much, and thanks for being on today.
Adam, appreciate it as always, man. Thank you. If you need anything, let me know.
All right.